Hello and welcome everybody. If you're new to the channel, a big hello and thank you for joining us today. Now, if you're watching this video, you've probably seen the thumbnail and you've seen the title, and that's clearly what we're going to be talking about today. But this video, you probably saw the one before this where I was actually priming bare plaster, and that was just a short video that was explaining, it's just clearly there. I can't even speak. I was explaining about what you do and painting bare plaster, that's simple as that. But I thought I'd come back because there's big questions. Now, as I say, you've seen the thumbnail, you see what the title is, and this room, everything in here has been finished with Farrow and Ball. I love Farrow and Ball, and every customer wants to use Farrow and Ball. I'm quite happy with that. You price accordingly because you know there's extra coats involved. The paint's expensive, but if you've got a customer that wants to pay for the Farrow and Ball paint, I can't see what the problem is. But today, let's talk about what the title is. Should you or do you need to use Farrow and Ball's undercoats, wall and ceiling primer, even down to the actual undercoats for finish top coats that Farrow and Ball do? Clearly, I'm going to tell you yes. And you're going to say why, and this is why I'm going to explain to you. Now, if you did watch that video that was there about painting the bare plaster, these walls had been insulated with that special plasterboard that's got a really thick polystyrene on the back to stop the cold coming from a single brick old period property. So these walls around here, all on the externals, all the way underneath, under here, and just behind the camera are all newly plasterboarded with that special insulation, and it was skimmed. Now, I go on about it, and there's a lot of people that are under the illusion that you can seal bare plaster with thin down PVA. I'm going to say no, you can't, because PVA is not an alkali resisting product. Bare plaster, the plaster skim, is what? It's an alkali surface, and that's where you get the problems where the PVA starts peeling away from the surface. I've spoken about this times many. So we've actually wash coated the bare plaster with a dedicated, and you saw in that video, dedicated bare plaster primer. That's good. Then we did the nibbing down, then we did the nibbing down, then we've done any slight filling that's needed. And then on that actual day of actually doing that bare plaster priming, I went round with the Farrow and Ball's mid-tones, and this is the wall and ceiling, they call it wall and ceiling primer undercoat. Now this is your base for your Farrow and Ball emulsions that go over the top. And you're going to say to me, why do you need to use that? I'm going to tell you, because going over cheap emulsion or a surface that you don't know what's on it can lead to problems, particularly with Farrow and Ball. And I think this is where Farrow and Ball have a bit of a battle with people, because people don't use the correct process when they're using Farrow and Ball. They want the Farrow and Ball finish, but not prepared to do the system. Let's call it the system. Now, Farrow and Ball's system is 2 top coats over an undercoat or a primer. And it's no different whether you're using it on the woodwork or the actual walls. Now the walls, because we've got the bare plaster primer on, we gave it a nib down, we gave it a sand, we've done all that usual, all the prep. I went over it with that, which is the wall and ceiling primer, because the colour that's going over these walls here is elephant's breath. Now elephant's breath is quite a deep colour, but through experience, I know that elephant's breath isn't the best for covering, particularly if you were going over white. Yes. Particularly if you're going over white. Now that wash coat was white, and the walls around me were also in a very pale cream, So we're taking no chances. I've primed out with that, and I've got a lovely base to work on with elephant's breath over the top. And the elephant's breath is modern emulsion, because I personally like a modern emulsion finish on the walls, and then sealing and freeze. They can be Farrow and Ball's estate emulsion, which is a flatter finish, because then there's low traffic area, nobody's touching that. The dogs are going to come in here, they're going to probably shake, they need to wipe the surface down. So that modern emulsion, has a slight sheen. I think it's, I believe, 7%. It's not like a vinyl silk or a soft sheen. It's just, it's like, let's call it a durable matte. I could probably call it a durable matte. But yeah, this is what I've done. And you know, when you rub your hand over the surface, when you've actually got this stuff on, you can see, or you can feel that it's not a dry, it's not like going over an emulsion. It's not a dry surface that's going to soak your actual paint in and go like that. There's something in that that makes it a lot better for going over the top with the Farrow and Ball emulsions. Now, you can probably just see under the radiator, because I'm coming to the end of the day and the plumber's coming in tomorrow. I've got to get these areas at the back of where radiators are going finished, so he can hang a radiator. I can finish the rest of the walls, and I can then paint the radiators with the Farrow and Ball. Yeah, I can paint radiators with Farrow and Ball's Elephant's Breath in modern emulsion. Yeah, all you do is you clean it down, give it a lighter braid. I've got some aqua bin, that'll be my grip primer, then I'll undercoat it with some of this, and then I'll finish it with 2 coats of the Farrow and Ball's modern emulsion. So I can paint radiators in the wall colour, there's no problem. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that don't try and skimp when using Farrow and Ball and think, oh, I'll just put 2 coats of the Elephant's Breath on over a white or a light surface. There is that, and that's a mid-tones. The mid-tones is actually the base for Elephant's Breath. And you can see what Elephant's Breath is there. Can you see it? Do you know what? That's only had 1 coat. It's nearly covered. So 2 coats of that over there. Let's go down. 2 coats is not going to be any problem whatsoever going over this colour here. Now, some people are going to say, well, why don't you just give it 3 coats of the Elephant's Breath? Again, with my experience of knowing, Elephant's Breath isn't the best for covering over white, and it will grin. And you'll go, what do you mean by grin? Well, grinning looks like you've painted the surface and it's not covered very well. The opacity's not been there. So using the correct tone of whatever the colour is that you're going to be using over the top, make sure you get the right tone undercoat, primer undercoat, sealing wall primer. Make sure you get the right one, because getting the wrong one might set you back an extra coat. The difference is, right, that's a mid-tones. Round the top frieze, that has been finished in red earth. Now that is finished. Farrow and Ball do a red wall ceiling primer undercoat. Dip down. And it's that. It's the red and warm tones. You could see what the colour was round the top when it had just had that on it. It's like a reddish colour, but a little bit see-throughy. But do you know what? Putting that on made it go on a dream for the actual finish. Red earth is estate emulsion, and 2 coats over that, you can't see it, over that red there, covered a dream. Now I know full well, if I'd have tried to cover 2 coats of that red, Farrow and Ball's red, I'd have struggled, because that was a light white frieze area up there. And I know people are going to say, well, if you'd have used X, Y and Z paint, that'd have covered for 2. I know, but I'm not using X, Y and Z paint. I'm using Farrow and Ball's paint today because the customer wants Farrow and Ball. I've got no issue using Farrow and Ball because it's priced accordingly, that we know we're giving it 3 coats. One of those coats is the primer, wall and ceiling primer undercoat for the emulsion. So I can't see what the problem is. It works, try it, don't skimp, don't try and get another paint made up in another colour to use as your base. Stick with the Farrow and Ball. And I've always said, labour far outweighs the cost of materials. So if your material cost is going to cost you another 50, 60 quid to get the right, I mean, that's only a 750ml tin. I've not used all of that to go around all that frieze. Just buy it. I'm going to say buy it. Right, we just spoke about the wall colour. What I've done on this job, right, let's just talk about how we are, or where we are. The ceiling is estate emulsion, and that is in all white. That had 2 coats, and that was sprayed. Now, I sprayed with my GX FF for all those that are interested, and that went on very nice. I allowed a couple of hours between coats just so I made sure that it had gone off nicely. The coving's all done in it, and then what I did, I went round once the ceiling and the coving was dried off enough. That's when I put that wall and ceiling primer on of that warm tones red. So that was, well, yesterday. Monday, I did woodwork, prep. I went round prepping it, and you're going to say, what did you prep it with? A lot of this skirting down here was bare wood with knots in it. So I did go round with, just had to disappear and get it, it was out of reach. I did go round over the knots and just blasted a bit of the blockade, the Smith & Rogers shellac based knotting just over the knots. But then I realised I'd got Aqua Bin, which does the same sort of thing, but talk about belt and braces. The woodwork, I went round with this. Now I sprayed it using the quick shot. And I've got to say, how quick I could get round this room with one coat of the Aqua Bin was unbelievable. It dried off quite quickly, so once I got into the afternoon, I could actually give it a second coat of that, particularly over the new bare areas, spraying with a 210 spray tip, so it's put a nice amount on. Now, that was the first day, that was the Monday. The second day was woodwork again, and I went round priming it, primer undercoat, with the Farrow and Ball's light tone, because this has been finished in gloss, Farrow and Ball's gloss. And that's what I've done today. So I'm 3 days in and I'm nearly complete. Ceiling's done, freezer's done. The walls just need the 2 coats, which I'm well on with that anyway. And then all the woodwork is finished. And now the woodwork was sprayed. I finished it with the gloss using a 308 spray tip. Now, people who don't know about spraying are a bit confused about the spray tips. There's probably a link there to understanding the spray tips. But do you know what? I've sprayed this using the gloss. I've warmed it using my, I've warmed the paint, so I didn't need to thin it. It was warmed, it went through that quick shot really nicely, like a hot knife through butter. And I've managed to get 2 coats of gloss on this woodwork today, before dinner. I know. So I'm only 3 days in, and I've got tomorrow to finish just these walls. So a question I'm going to ask you is, do you charge for the job done or the time taken? Now just think about what I've been doing. I've done the ceiling, we've had prep, we've had the ceiling. I've got to say we had a day's prep. Brian, who works for us, was a day last week, just prepping, so a bit of rubbing down. So we've had a day prep, then I've done ceiling, freeze, walls, priming out, woodwork to a finish. I've actually been 3 days with Brian's 4 days. And I'm going to finish tomorrow, so that's 5 days worth of work, labour. What price would you put on this job, bearing in mind what I've done? I've probably got 4 coats of paint, 5 coats if you want to count the primer coats and stuff. What do you think? Where are we with it? Anyway, I'm going to show you how good this Farrow and Ball gloss is. I'll leave it there. I think you can see it now. The customer wanted gloss. Personally, I prefer satin. If I was using Farrow and Ball, I'd be using the modern eggshell. That's got a nice sheen to it as well without being too flat. The estate eggshell is a flat finish, but the modern eggshell has a little bit of a sheen to it. But the gloss, I hope you can see that sheen level there, is a proper gloss finish. Can you see that? This is 2 coats of gloss over the primer undercoat, the light tones. Now this is another thing, there's an urban myth that you can get away with 1 coat of the gloss or the eggshells. You can't, you've got it, if it says 2 coats, the top coat, give it 2. I've got that depth of sheen because that second coat of gloss sits on a coat of gloss and it adds to the actual finish. Now, if you were just doing an undercoat and then the gloss, I swear blind that the gloss level sinks into that undercoat and just dulls off. But if you give it 2 coats of gloss, it doesn't. And that is lovely. Can you see it? And before anybody says hinges, yes, the hinges were painted before. It's a rising hinge, so there's not much you can do about it, so I've painted them in. But if you can see that gloss level, that is, can you see on there? is brilliant, and that's all been sprayed, and the finish spray was done with a 308 spray tip, a fine finish 308 spray tip. So all in all, I'm really pleased how this job's gone. Let's just scan around. Ceiling looks fantastic, woodwork's looking good, and all I've got to do now is just finish the walls. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for listening to me. Hope it explains about using Farrow and Ball paints. Always read the data sheets. Always read to see what the tone is of the undercoat that's required for the top coat that you're putting on. Don't skimp. If it says you need an undercoat, use an undercoat. And particularly when you've got new, like bare plaster, wash coat it first, then put your wall and ceiling primer on it first, like I've done. It just gets that extra build up. You could get away with just putting that wall ceiling primer straight onto bare plaster, but I wouldn't like to do that. I'd like to build it up with a wash coat first, which I have done, and I brushed it. And it's the same with these walls. I'm brushing them at the moment, and I'm not taping up the top edge of the skirting. I've got a nice cutting in / cut brush, and I can cut in neatly around that skirting there, and that's what I'm doing. Job's a good one. Skills pays the bills. Please watch the videos at the end.